People are worried about the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I can't blame them. When it comes to the fact that they are sitting at 20-1 right now and control a lot of the NBA lottery for the 2026 NBA draft, this team looks like they're not going anywhere anytime soon. They're coming off of an NBA championship. Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams are signed long term. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is signed long term, and they have this rotation of pieces coming off the bench that seem like they're ready to go NBA players the minute they step into an Oklahoma City uniform. And I don't know what the future of the NBA looks like. I saw this report on Bleacher Report that it seems like people around the league are really sweating the Oklahoma City Thunder. And so we're going to take a look at this article, and I'm going to show you guys something else that I kind of ran through earlier when I was playing around on Tankathon, because this fear is actually pretty real. I haven't read this article yet, but we're just going to read it together. Some teams around the NBA are in panic about the Oklahoma City Thunder owning the Los Angeles Clippers first round pick in the 2026 NBA draft, according to ESPN's Tim McMahon. McMahon reported that rival franchises aren't thrilled with the reigning champions potentially. Slow moment here. McMahon reported that rival franchises aren't thrilled with the reigning champions potentially getting a great asset this summer. The NBA insider added he's dead serious to clarify he wasn't being hyperbolic. Oklahoma City doesn't need a ton of help. It sits atop the league, standing at 20-1 and boasts the best net rating of plus 15.3 per NBA.com. The Thunder's title window should be wide open for the next few years, too. Reigning MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 27 years old, paired with Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, who are 24 or younger. Holmgren and Williams are signed through 2031. Gilgeous-Alexander is under contract at least through 2030 and has a player option in 2030, 2031. None of these three are leaving anytime soon. General Manager Sam Presti has already assembled a stacked squad, and he might be getting two more cost-controlled difference makers in the draft. Oklahoma City not only has the Clippers pick, but also the Utah Jazz's 2026 first rounder. Both of those would fall in the top 10 based on current lottery odds. Talent evaluators are pretty high on the incoming draft class as well. Kansas's Darren Peterson, Duke's Cameron Boozer, and BYU's AJ DeBonta are in a three-way race for the number one pick, and there's a lot of talent further down the board. Navigating around the luxury tax aprons will be the biggest challenge for Presti in the years ahead. As the roster gets more expensive, he may have to sacrifice some depth and watch key players walk out the door. Owning two top 10 picks typically isn't a luxury a championship contender enjoys, and that would offer Presti a lot of flexibility in terms of managing the payroll long term. So, with that all being said, like what are the takeaways from all of that, right? The biggest thing is that the Oklahoma City Thunder, when you think about their roster and you look at the construction they've been able to rely on, right, with getting very cheap contracts that play really well for them, having your Aaron Wigginses on the roster, having guys still like your Thomas Sorber, who you just drafted out of Georgetown, or having Nikola Topic, who is going to miss a good portion of the season, if not the entirety of the season, due to his testicular cancer issue, or you just have a handful of guys across their roster, and we'll go down their depth chart in a minute. But you think about their depth chart, and you look at the kind of cost control that this team has just based off of where everybody is within their career, right? Lucas Dort, you had on a very team-friendly contract. Isaiah Hartenstein, the likelihood of him being on the roster after this season is pretty low unless they're able to kind of, renegotiate that last season. But the idea, I think, was always to sign him on the 2+1 with the idea of him being somebody who comes off of their books to make them more affordable next year. AJ Mitchell, rookie contract. Cason Wallace, rookie contract. Alex Caruso, manageable contract. Aaron Wiggins, he's on a re-up, but his re-up is very lucrative. Same thing with Isaiah Joe. They both signed in the same summer for a very favorable deal. And again, Nikola Topic, rookie deal. Kendrick Williams is on a relatively low contract. Even Jalen Williams, again, I believe he's still on his rookie scale contract as well. So you look at the talent that they have, and I mean, look across their bench, right? AJ Mitchell, Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, Jalen Williams, on a handful of other rosters within the NBA. Those guys can start. I can think of a handful of different teams that could use an AJ Mitchell as a starting point guard. I'm sure a team like even a rival like the Minnesota Timberwolves, for example, who desperately are in play for a point guard. AJ Mitchell could be a starting caliber point guard on a team like that, in my personal opinion. And that goes to show you that they're just extremely dangerous as a team that essentially is trotting out three All NBA players and any combination of a multitude of different kind of starters who could play on this team or could play on a lot of other teams and earn a lot of money playing on different rosters. But the thing that makes them even more dangerous, and the reason why I think a lot of teams are fearful of them moving forward, is because what they've been able to do in terms of recycling, rinse and repeating these NBA draft picks is they can continue to kick this can down the road. If a Cason Wallace and an Aaron Wiggins and an Isaiah Joe, say they fall off the roster because they just become too expensive, oh, well, you just run in another trot of NBA rookie scale contracts like your AJ Mitchell, like your Nikola Topic, like your Thomas Sorber, right? And you continue to rotate those through, and it continues to push this envelope down where you're like, okay, we can kind of keep doing this. And as long as we have our main three, SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren, as long as we have them at the forefront, we have a developmental program here in OKC that's strong enough, good enough to build starter caliber players right out of the draft. Again, AJ Mitchell, absolute steal out of the second round. Aaron Wiggins, same thing. Cason Wallace was taken earlier in the draft, but he's a guy who I think is really kind of played himself into someone who can earn real money on the open market as a defensive oriented point guard, right? So this team, because of their, and the reason why people should be so fearful of OKC is not just the amount of picks they have and how far into the future they go, but the fact that they're so potent with those draft picks. They're very good at identifying talent and then not only identifying the skill sets that work best within their organization, but also identifying the upside value of said player to be able to expand their role even further. So they're not just looking at guys who are players who can fit as cogs in their system, right? They're looking at guys that, do you have these three main attributes: dribble, pass, shoot? Are you a high level ball handler? Are you somebody that can shoot at a high level? And do you know how to move the rock and be able to play the together style of basketball that they play so often? And if you're able to do that, they can build on the rest of making you a more efficient mid-range shooter, being able to instill a defensive-based mentality, right? Those are the type of things that come once you get there. But as far as identifying talent, the Oklahoma City Thunder are easily the best in the NBA, and I don't even think it's close. Even you can make the argument with SGA, and I don't necessarily know if they knew back then that he would be the MVP caliber player that he was back then. And I mean, I was a huge fan of SGA coming out of Kentucky. I was a fan of him really earlier than that, but I think that the reason why he's been one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player in the NBA as of late, is because of the fact that I enjoy his journey. But it starts with the fact that he's a player that, starting with the LA Clippers, came off the bench and played around a very veteran-oriented squad, and has continued to improve his game and has faced every single stipulation you could as an NBA player to get to becoming an MVP. He was a rookie coming off the bench. Then he became, a third option next to Chris Paul and Dennis Schroeder. Then he got the keys to the car. Then they started putting more talent around him. Then he becomes an MVP caliber player. Then he becomes a true face of the NBA, and now he's coming off of a championship. Like, he's went through every single stage. I don't know if they identified him as that caliber of player when they got him, but I think identifying him as a key young piece in that big Paul George trade, I think was really important, because that was the foundation setting move that has put them in position to be this potent and this dangerous now. And what I want to show you guys is something that I thought was really crazy, because you see, that article mentioned the Utah Jazz pick, but I was running through Tankathon just kind of playing around with it, because after I saw this headline, I was like, well, the Oklahoma City Thunder do have the LA Clippers pick. How bad could it really get as far as the Oklahoma City Thunder in a lottery situation to, land a top pick? And I got this. And so, as you can see, the Oklahoma City Thunder get the second overall pick via the Clippers, but they also get Utah's pick at number 9, but they also get Philadelphia's pick at number 14. And that's absolutely bizarre to me. That's absolutely bizarre. And if you want to go a step further and kind of use use like a mock draft, for example, and I don't think I'll be able to get the exact landing that I had last time. Actually, ironically, I was. So here it is right here. Imagine a situation where the Oklahoma City Thunder have SGA, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, and you're able to draft AJ DeBonsa at number 3. Chris Senac out of Houston, who's actually a really solid player at the power forward center position as well. And then you're also able to get Ben Sturts, who that's more of he's somebody who's considered, more of a veteran point guard for that Iowa team. Somebody who I think for the Oklahoma City Thunder would be like a pseudo Alex Caruso replacement. Obviously, Alex Caruso is not going to be like a long-term piece on this roster. This is somebody in Ben who can, come out the gate already a bit of a veteran point guard. Think of your this is the Oklahoma City Thunder's equivalent to like the Jalen Brunson pick, right? Of getting an older, savvy veteran point guard out of college who is well seasoned around playing, high leverage basketball, and somebody who can come in and you just know is going to be an instant connector, knows is going to be able to, come in and contribute on defense and stuff like that. But let's really focus on the number 3 pick, right? At some point we'll do a real breakdown on like the NBA draft, maybe watch like an NBA draft video or something like that to really get an understanding of what this draft class looks like. But let's just focus on the top 3, right? In a world where the Oklahoma City Thunder can have one of Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, or AJ DeBonsa added to this roster is insane. Because think about this. There's a world where you could draft AJ DeBonsa and he doesn't even start on this team. Who does he start over? Do you move Jalen Williams to the 2, bump Lucas Dort to the bench, and now you have AJ DeBonsa as a 3 next to Chet Holmgren and whoever plays center if it's not Isaiah Hartenstein moving forward? Do you have the lineup set as it is, but bump Chet Holmgren down to the 4? Bump Chet Holmgren down to the 5. You have AJ DeBonsa start at the 3 and Jalen Williams plays the 4 since we've seen him play. We've seen Jalen Williams literally play center as of last season. So this is somebody who clearly has the defensive upside to be multi-positional. So I think the best way, but that's what makes it so scary, right? The fact that you have someone like Jalen Williams who has the capability of playing pretty much every position on the court. Outside of point guard, but I think his ball handling is nice enough for him to at least be able to initiate offense pretty clearly. We saw that in the postseason, especially in that finals matchup against the Indiana Pacers. There's a world where either AJ DeBonsa doesn't even start, or you have to move Chet Holmgren to the center, move Jalen Williams to the 4, put AJ DeBonsa at the 3, and then have Lucas Dort play your 2 with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at the 1, right? But what about if you lose or let Isaiah Hartenstein walk, and you get to make up for that by bringing in Cameron Boozer? Cameron Boozer, by the way, per 36 minutes is averaging 28 points, 12 rebounds, and 4.8 assists while having basically a block and a half and 2.22 steals. But let's not even sugarcoat it. Let's use his actual statistics. 23, 10, 4, 1, and 2. The dude's averaging 3 stocks along with 4 assists and a double-double. And that's who you get to replace Isaiah Hartenstein with. Or let's say it's Darren Peterson. You bring in Darren Peterson as a combo guard who I saw an article on Bleacher Report that was doing like comps for each NBA draft pick as they were also essentially doing like a mock draft. And the comparison for Darren Peterson was Anthony Edwards. Could you imagine a world where basically Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays next to Anthony Edwards while also having Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren on the floor at the same time? What if there's a world where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the starting point guard, you put AJ Mitchell in the secondary spot at the 2, And you have Darren Peterson play the small ball 3 with Jalen Williams at the 4 and Chet Holmgren at the 5. I mean, there is a multitude of possibilities where this Oklahoma City Thunder team, just off of landing in the top 3 with the LA Clippers pick alone, can set them up to have one of the most devastating starting fives in NBA history. NBA history. Because not only are they very talented, but they're youthful. That's what makes them different from like the Golden State Warriors starting five when they had Kevin Durant. Is yes, they were a potent starting five, arguably one of the best starting fives in NBA history, maybe the best starting five in NBA history. But they were much older and much further into their career. These guys, again, the oldest of that group would be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 27 years old. 27. So when everybody talks about the NBA age thing and being on the wrong side of 30 and stuff like that, he's not going to see that for another 3 seasons. In another 3 seasons, whoever they draft in this top 3 slot wouldn't even be eligible for their rookie max extension just yet by that time frame. That means there's a world where even if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander doesn't return after he turns 30 in 2030, 2031, say he leaves. Say Chet Holmgren, say Jalen Williams decide they want to go somewhere else. I'm not saying they are, but let's say they decide that's what they want to do. There's a world where you just continue going down that road with someone like AJ DeBonta as now your face of the franchise. So it's a long-term baton pass where the 2026 NBA draft could literally be setting you up for the future beyond SGA, the future beyond Jalen Williams, the future beyond Chet Holmgren. So you have essentially like a buy one get one free situation here where you not only add to your championship window right now, but you're also adding to what could be the future beyond those guys where you don't have to necessarily lose a beat. You know, a lot of teams, if they lose that kind of trifecta, they're going into the hole and they're not going to be able to climb out for quite some time. We've seen a team as simple as like the Utah Jazz. They traded Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and Bojan Bogdanovic. Yeah, Bojan. And I don't want to make it seem like Bojan is like on the caliber of what we're talking about, but like they moved off of some of their key pieces. Let's center this around Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. They moved off of those two guys and they haven't recovered since. Right? This team doesn't know if they want to trade or keep Lauri Markkanen. I like Keontae George. I like what they've been able to do, but like this team is nowhere close to even a playoff team right now. Since moving off of D. Mitch and Rudy Gobert, that was years ago. This Oklahoma City Thunder team has the chance to literally baton pass from their 3 superstars to the next guy without losing a beat. And if they're able to keep all of these guys together, even on the opposite side of 30, if they're able to keep this core together and continue building out using rookie scale contract guys who have this kind of upside, I mean, what do you do with that? How do you contain that? And the worst part about it is Adam Silver can't do anything. Adam Silver cannot touch the Oklahoma City Thunder because he can't punish them for other franchises being incompetent. It's not his fault that the Oklahoma City Thunder were able to finesse the LA Clippers because nobody necessarily viewed it as a finesse job back when that trade happened. Nobody knew SGA was going to be who he was. Nobody thought the Clippers weren't going to be able to maximize the window of having Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the same team. And to make matters worse, it's so crazy because when you look at some of these other things they're able to do, again, they even have a late first round pick in the 20s via the Houston Rockets. That's an insane circumstance where, don't get me wrong, the likelihood that this team uses all 4 draft picks is probably low, right? But because it's low, what if OKC decided they wanted to take 9 and 14 and move up? What if they decided that in this draft class, let's say the draft landed exactly as it looks right now, and they get AJ DeBonsa at number 3. But then at the point guard position, you're able to get a Kingston Flemings out of Houston, or you're able to get Tunde Yesufu from Baylor, right? Or you just continue to build out that front court and you take Jaden Quintonance out of Kentucky within like the top 8, right? It would probably be like top 5 because you would look at a team like maybe the Indiana Pacers. Maybe they would maybe they would be willing to, or maybe Brooklyn. Brooklyn seems like a team. Brooklyn or the Kings might be like a team that's willing to move back to get 2 shots in the lottery, right? So that could be an interesting fit. But that's even scarier. They could pair the 27th pick and the 14th pick and move up. Or they could pair the 14th pick and the 9th pick and move up further into the lottery while still already having a top 3 pick. Because they're likely to consolidate these. They're going to consolidate these. They can't roster 4 first-round picks. They can't roster 4 first-round picks. How about this weird doomsday scenario? What if they get Cameron Boozer at number 3 and down here at 27, you see who falls all the way down to the end of the first round? Caden Boozer. What if you're able to link the 2 brothers from Duke on the same team again in an Oklahoma City Thunder uniform? Not only could you sell that, right, from a marketing perspective, which is now me thinking on the business side, but not only could you sell that on the marketing side of things, because of the chemistry these 2 guys already have on the floor for obvious reasons, you've created another easy dynamic for them to assimilate into the NBA, where next to a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren, you have 2 guys who already know how to play really good ball. And then they have the synergy where, say these 2 guys are coming off the bench, and I don't think Cameron Boozer will come off the bench. He'd actually be their starting center right out the gate, especially if they let Isaiah Hartenstein walk. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, those are 2 guys that already have real pick and roll chemistry. Those are situations where if you stagger Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Caden Boozer comes off the bench and he's the starting point guard, or he's the off 2 guard next to AJ Mitchell coming off the bench in certain situations. I mean, you have a 1-2 man game that we've already seen thrive, dating back to early years of high school, dating back earlier than that. This Oklahoma City Thunder team is nuts as it is. Again, 20-1, right? They're 20-1 with a chance to get a top 3 pick, a top 10 pick, another lottery pick, and then something just outside of the 20s or just within the 20s. This Oklahoma City Thunder team is cracked. Absolutely cracked. And the insane part about it is no one can stop them. No one can stop them. And that means that the NBA is in for a rude awakening, because they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And it feels like the 2025 NBA championship was just the start of the rest of the league's problems. But with that being said, you guys let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this whole thing when it comes to the Oklahoma City Thunder and just how dangerous they are going to be as a team moving forward. I'll be interested to see what you guys have to say in the comment section down below. But until next time, peace.